Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. So in this video we are going to deal with one important concept, that is a graphical representation of CMOS circuits. In this we are using one very famous and important method, okay, that is called as Euler path method. Okay, so this Euler path method is very easy. Okay, using this drawing the uh, yeah, you see using the schematic how to draw the layout, it is very easy using this Euler path as compared to the physical layout drawing using the layout design rules method. Okay, layout based design rules, that is a bit complicated, but this is very easy. So let us see that now. To automate layout generation, a graph theoretic approach is used. The CMOS circuit is converted into a graph where vertices represent the source drain connections. Okay, edges represent the transistors that connect particular source drain vertices. Okay, this results in two graphs, one for the NMOS network and another for the PMOS network. An example for this graph transformation is shown below. Okay, you see here, this is one simple expression here, that is this is, I guess, A plus B plus CD. Okay, for this, this is the what to say, a CMOS logic design. Where they have drawn the schematic in the pull-up part and the pull-down part, that it consists of PMOS and NMOS transistors. Okay, for this they have drawn the Euler path diagram. You see here, where the circles, you see the circles are mentioned here, right? Circles VDD. These are the input connections. That is, this is for VDD. Then here you have for B. This is for I1, this is I2, and this is Z. Okay, that is the ground. Okay, so you see here, between these two VDD and this I1, you consider this I1 as one single node, and between VDD and I1 we have two transistors C and D connected in parallel. Okay, so that's what they have done is, between these two points they have drawn C and D, okay, like this, so that these two would be parallel to each other. Okay, so this is for PMOS. Okay, for PMOS they are represented using straight line, dark lines, bold lines, and for NMOS they are represented in the dotted lines. Okay, you see here, and here you see A and B are in series, so that's why from this point to this point they have connected these two lines in series. Okay, until Z. Okay, the Z is the point where we check the output. Okay, and this is for PMOS. Now for NMOS, you see here, for NMOS what we have, again, from at this point this cross mark indicates the output and this cross mark indicates the ground. Okay, so for at NMOS logic, the C and D here are in series. So according to that, you see here, from this is Z, right? From this output we have 1 is to I3, from here to I3, and from I3 to ground. Okay, so that in the same way, from output to I3 and from I3 to ground. Okay, so these two are C and D. Okay, you should be naming it as this and this line, and this line correspond C and D. So that's why they have mentioned the arrow here. These two are C and D, and similarly A and B from the Z to the ground, they are connected parallelly, right? So see here, from Z to and this curve is passing this curve of B which you have drawn earlier. Okay, so that's why this curve should be touching this curve here, so that these two would be representing a single input, that is B. That is you see here, this B here is given from Z to ground, so that's why they are mentioned in the dotting line. Similarly for A, from Z to the ground, they have drawn one dotted line, and it is passing the curve of A which you have drawn for PMOS. Okay, so in this simple way you could be drawing this Euler path diagram, very easy. I hope you understood this, how to draw this. Okay, so this was about the complete Euler path diagram. Here, the P graph and N graph are dual to each other, as the PMOS pull-up network is the complement of the NMOS pull-down network. Okay. So Euler path in CMOS layout, if two edges are adjacent in the P or N graph, then they may share a common source drain connection, and they can be connected by the apartment. Okay, as I've explained. A gate can be designed through breaks if an Euler path consists in both the P graph and N graph with the identical labeling. The main algorithm for finding such paths is find all Euler paths in the graph, identify P minus and P and N Euler path with the identical labeling. If none exist, break the gate in the minimum number of places to achieve this condition. Okay. An Euler path example and the corresponding layout generation is shown here. Okay, so this is the Euler path example for these conditions. Okay, so yeah, this was about the Euler path diagram for one simple logic example they have given it. Okay, so hope you understood it. So that's all for the video, guys. Now under dynamic CMOS, again we have two important phases, that is multi-phase clocking strategies. Okay, under that we have two important phases for dynamic CMOS. That is, one is four-phase dynamic logic, and another one is two-phase dynamic logic. Okay, so let us discuss one by one that what are the four-phase and two-phase dynamic logic. First is four phase. The four phase dynamic logic approach introduces a structured clocking sequence that ensures that outputs are properly evaluated and stored before being used as inputs in the next stage. Okay, so this is one main drawback of the four phase, that is, the structured clocking sequence is taking place, which consists of four phases that ensures that outputs are properly evaluated in each phase so that the flow of signal would be very in a sequential manner, and the uh, output would be in the correct way based on the inputs provided. Okay, so this is the four phase dynamic logic circuits. You see here it has four phases. This is the timing diagram. It has four phases: phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, and phi 4. In each phase, you see here in phi 1, in the first phi 1 stage, for some time the output is 1, then it is a constant 0. For phi 2, you see here first it is 0, then it becomes 1. For phi 3, leaving the first two phi 1 and phi 2 stages, it would be having some delay, and after that again it is 1. For phi 4, again leaving the first three stages, phi 1, phi 2, phi 3, after some delay it is 1. Okay, so this goes on. So now here for phi 1 2, for phi 1 2, phi 2 3, phi 3 4, and phi 4 1, it consists two stages at a time, that is phi 1 and phi 2. So since phi 1 and phi 2 are 1 at the first two time intervals, so that's why phi 1 2 would be 1. And similarly for phi 2 3, it consists phi 2 and phi 3. So see there, phi 2 and phi 3, in this stage the phi 2 3 would be 1. Okay, then for phi 3 4, again the same thing, phi 3 and phi 4, between these two, it is 1, so it would be logic high between those two stages only. Then for phi 4 and phi 1, you see here phi 4 1, that is, between these two stages the output would be 1. So this is the sequential flow, and this is called as four phase dynamic logic. So this is the circuit diagram of this four phase dynamic logic, where it consists of, you see here in the first, this part is the complete dynamic CMOS logic structure. Okay, and here if you see at the output side, we are adding one transmission gate. Okay, in order for it to become a four phase dynamic logic, one transmission gate is added at the output end. So this is the complete diagram of the four phase dynamic logic, where we have one dynamic CMOS, and at the output end you are adding one transmission gate with the inputs, the gate inputs as phi bar 2 3 and phi 2 3. Okay, so this constant input clock signal is called as phi 1 2 bar, and this is the complete structure of the four phase dynamic logic. The working principle, it consists of this logic consists of it consists of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. Okay, where we have different names for this phase. Phase phi 1 is called as pre-charge of pz. During this phase, the node pz is pre-charged to pdd. Okay, so this is the node pz, and it gets pre-charged to vdd, while node z remains at its previous value. Okay, whereas phase phi 2 is called as pre-charge of z, that is, pre-charge of node pz is maintained, and the transmission gate turns on, allowing the node z to also pre-charge. Okay, so this is the use where transmission gate would be appearing in case of phi 2 phase. Next, phase phi 3. So the phase phi 3 is called as evaluation phase. The gate evaluates, and if the pull down network is activated, the node pz discharges conditionally. Okay, next we have phase phi 4, that is the hold phase. The node z is held in its evaluated state, ensuring that it does not change prematurely. Okay, so these are the working principles of all the phases which I have done. So these are the advantages of four phase dynamic logic. It reduces charge sharing issues by ensuring proper storage of values. Then it enables cascading of multiple logic stages without a risk of premature discharge. So under this four phase dynamic logic, the cascading problem is solved. Next, it ensures that the evaluated values remains stable during the computation. Okay, so these are some of the advantages, and limitations are It requires four separate clock signals, increasing the circuit complexity. Additional clocking transistors increase the power consumption. Strict timing requirements must be met for reliable operation. Okay, so these are the limitations of four-phase dynamic logic. So now let's discuss one more kind, that is called as two-phase dynamic logic. Okay, an alternative to four-phase logic is a two-phase approach which simplifies the clocking at the cost of slightly reduced reliability. Okay, so in order to reduce the clocking pulses, since if you take four phases at a time, the clocking complexity would be very very high. But if you take the two-phase logic at a time, the clocking complexity will be very low. Okay, so there is one slight change here in the two-phase in the circuit. You see here, if you observe here in the output side, we don't have any transmission gate attached. Okay, so other than that, the two phase consists of the PMOS and the NMOS, that is the dynamic circuit here. But just below the output we have one more NMOS. Okay, that is the second input for the two phase dynamic logic. Already we have one clock input, this is one clock signal, and with this NMOS gate terminal we have one more clock signal, and that is called as 512, and this is one clock signal, that is called as 51. Okay, so these are the changes for the two phase dynamic logic circuit. Okay, so these are the timing diagrams for 51 and 512 based on the uh, given dynamic logic. So the in the dynamic two phase logic, the one difference in the timing is the two inputs are varied with each other. That is, if this is one, this if this is logic high, the other input would be definitely logic low, because the transistor characteristics are obtained in such a way. You see here with this timing diagram, it would be very very clear to you all. See, when this is 1, this is 0, and when this is 0, this part is 1. Okay, so this was about two-phase dynamic logic. The working principle: a two-phase logic scheme utilizes alternating clock cycles. Okay, so the alternating clock cycles are 5A and 5B. Certain gates evaluate their logic function in 5A, and under 5B, other gates evaluate while the outputs of the previous phase are held constant. Okay, the previous phase outputs you see here are held constant. Advantages: it reduces the number of required clock signals from 4 to 2. Okay, that is one advantage, that is the clock signals are reduced. Simpler circuit design and reduced power consumption. Limitations: more susceptible to charge leakage compared to four phase logic. It requires careful synchronization to prevent timing mismatches. Okay, so these are some of the advantages and limitations, and this is one comparison of two phase and four phase logic. You see here, clock signals 4, that is 51, 52, 53, 54 in phase of 4 phase, and for 2 phase it is 2. Stability higher due to hold phases, since it has hold phase, so stability is high in case of 4 phase. In case of 2 phase, the stability is moderate, that is the charge leakage is very high. Circuit complexity, it is very high, it is low. Power consumption is high in case of 4 phase, and in case of 2 phase it is low. Suitability for cascading, it is more suitable, where in case of 2 phase it requires careful synchronization. Okay, next is transistor count. As I've told you, for dynamic CMOS, the CMOS gate, it requires n plus 2 transistors. Okay, so that's they have mentioned it here. The reduced transistor count results in lower capacitance and higher speed. Advantages of dynamic CMOS, that is high speed, low power consumption, and reduced area. Disadvantages of dynamic CMOS: charge leakage, timing constraints, and complex cascading. Okay, so this is the conclusion here. It is a powerful alternative to static CMOS for high speed, low power digital circuits. Okay. However, its reliance on clock driven operation introduces challenges such as charge leakage and complex timing synchronization. Okay. So these are the factors which you need to be knowing for under dynamic CMOS. Okay. So this was all about the complete dynamic CMOS logic.